326 days ago, in probably the greatest day of my life, I graduated university. And after 3 years of occasional hard work, a lot of grit and a little bit of sadness, I put on my gown and I walked across the stage in the Royal Albert Hall in front of my parents, and it felt like I had won the Oscars. And although this is probably not even currently a thought on your horizon, assuming you don't drop out, sooner rather than later, this will be your reality too. Now, university is incredible, and I know that it draws a lot of criticism at the moment, mostly from people who either didn't go themselves or couldn't make it work for them. But if you make university work for you, not only are you going to be getting a degree, but you're also going to be setting yourself up for, well, your future. So I thought I'd create this video to share the information that for some reason no one mentions, but in actual reality will probably change your entire outlook on university. According to the Oxford University, a university is an institution of higher education offering tuition in mainly non-vocational subjects and typically having the power to confer degrees. And that is technically 100% correct. But for me, and looking back at it, university is nothing more than time. Meaning, therefore, what you actually have is an opportunity to taste the real world as an individual without really having to actually be in it. Now, first things first, assuming you are actually about to start university, I can imagine that right now you are probably a little bit terrified, mixed in with, well, a whole lot of excitement, and, you know, in fairness, rightly so. I can't believe that I start university tomorrow. Like, I literally just, it doesn't even sound right to say. Also, I now feel nervous. I mean, I don't really ever normally feel nervous. I'm not really someone that gets nervous very often, but, like, tomorrow's a big day. The reality is, just as I said in my last video, it's gonna be difficult. The two biggest problems that you're gonna face at university is inevitably you are going to get lonely.
Honestly, I am really struggling a little bit. Like last night I felt really quite lonely, to be honest. Like I haven't felt as lonely as I did last night for a very, very long time. I'm hoping that at some point things will start to click.
And secondly, even if you think you are doing an easy degree, at some point the course is gonna get difficult. And the easiest fix is to realize that A, it's normal. Absolutely everyone is going through the same thing. Everyone is in the same boat. And if you are struggling, reach out for help. And secondly, just show up. You know, the reality is, just showing up at university will make your experience a million times better. Whether that's just in terms of your lectures, and please do show up for those because that will make your university work, well, actually feasible and not make your life hell. And secondly, well, social events. If you show up to those, well, you might actually be able to make friends, because let's be honest, you're not going to be able to make friends just sitting in your room.
Anyway, so more or less just for the context of the video, and also just to explain why in my last video I said I spend my entire time in my room, is that I only have 3 lectures a week, which means I only technically leave my room 3 times a week. I can literally spend the rest of the week, if I want to, in my room, which is, yeah.
And finally, if you are considering dropping out, please just make it to Christmas. I promise you, all of the problems that you are currently facing or will face will most likely sort themselves out in the second term. You just gotta be patient. Anyway, now that we've covered that, let's discuss the one thing that I absolutely guarantee probably hasn't even crossed your mind yet, but that if you don't, well, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot. Which is, and drum roll please, life after university. I know, it sounds seriously depressing, but it is gonna flash by.
And here we are.
Here's a day in my life.
Right, so starting in an hour, destination. Now, I think throughout most of my childhood, I kind of always believed that someone was gonna like jump out and save me. And admittedly, at school, you know, that kind of does happen. Normally someone will turn around to you and go, oh, you need to start doing some work, or, you know, at university, there will be a lecturer there to sort of guide you through it. But once you enter the real world, the only person who actually determines your own destiny is you. You know, and in the end of the day, there aren't many things that seem to consistently show up in my life, but the reality is input equals output. And although it doesn't necessarily guarantee results, it tends to like very strongly correlate with them. You know, if you're getting bad grades, you need to work harder. If you feel like shit, well, you probably need to go out and exercise more and drink less. And well, if you haven't got enough friends, well, you're gonna need to go out and make some. You know, people seem to always forget it, but life comes from you, not at you. And if you want to change something or make something of yourself, well, you're gonna have to go out and get it. Now, the real world, and there's no real nice way of putting this, is brutal. You know, for me, I was lucky enough to be able to turn my hobby into a job, but for a lot of my friends, it's really eaten them alive. In the UK, there is currently 141 applications per graduate job. We are the most overqualified nation in the world, and this is also not to include the fact that there is currently, well, a 17-year high in graduate unemployees. The reality is no one wants to think that it's going to be them, but you know, I have friends that have got second-class degrees from top 15 universities in the UK that are currently working in McDonald's. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying that I know for a fact they didn't pay 60k to do that. So I think understanding that you need to make the world yours is super important, and the reality is that that work starts as soon as you arrive at university. Like, yes, make sure that what you're doing right now, you're doing that to the best of your ability as well, but you know, if you've got a job in mind, find out what you need to get to that job. Don't be scared to choose the wrong path, be scared of not trying enough. No one is expecting you to know what you want to do with your life right now. But finding out what it is that gets you up in the morning is a great start. And you know, this might sound super unlikely, but the fewer paths that you explore, the higher chance it is that you're going to end up in a job that you hate. And again, that might sound impossible to you, but there was a 2023 study in the US and it was found that 64.2% of Americans hated their job. And hopefully that won't be you. Throughout all of our time at school, we're racing to get older so that we can get into university. And then we arrive at university and then we're racing to get through that so that we can get out into the real world. And then we arrive in the real world and we need to instantly get a job. And I also want to say, it's okay to take a pause. It's okay to take a deep breath. Enjoy the time while you have it. University is highly likely to be 3 of the greatest years of your life. You're going to look back on them fondly. I look back at my time at university very, very fondly. And also remember that, you know, we're not in a race. We all achieve things in our own time. And, you know, just because you don't hit the ground running when you leave university, or just because you don't hit the ground running when you arrive at university, doesn't mean that you are set up for a bad race. It just means that you might peak later on. In the end of the day, the McDonald's founder founded McDonald's at 52. We're all going to have our time. Make the most of it while you can. You're only at university once. We only get one shot at this life even. So make peace with yourself and enjoy the ride, because it's going to be a good one.
I can't believe that I start university tomorrow. Like, literally just, it doesn't even sound right.
We are. Wow.
Yeah, I guess that's that really. 3 years of uni, done. Lectures done.
The reality is the next chapter's start. A chapter's got to end.